Please stay tuned for a special announcement at the end of this commentary.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth. I'm surviving on the top of the line!
The mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, gets the boot from the voters.
Obviously, we didn't win the election today, but I stand here with my head held high. And regardless of tonight's outcome, we fought the right fights and we put this city on a better path. No doubt about it.
Well, ex-mayor Lightfoot, apparently the voters, the people who actually live in Chicago, don't think that the city is in a better place. Especially since you are the first incumbent in Chicago in 40 years not to win re-election. Now, what could possibly be the problem? Could it be the fact that the crime rate in Chicago is the highest it's been in 25 years? Could it be the over 3,000 murders which have taken place under your watch? I mean, this is unbelievable. We watched you fight on camera, live, with your own members of the city assembly. You were in the streets protesting for George Floyd, but yet wouldn't allow those same mostly peaceful protesters to march through your own neighborhood for George Floyd. And then, of course, let's not forget that you went absolutely over the top COVID crazy with the mandates and the lockdowns. And, you really were all in on Juicy Smollett. You were a virtue signal candidate, and that's all you were. Woman of color, a lesbian. What could possibly go wrong? And I know in Libtopia, this is a perfect scenario, and everything should be working wonderfully. But if we've learned anything, all we have to do is take a look at the White House and the individual that they have fulfilling the role of press secretary, and we can see how much virtually signaling and hiring does not work. Because at some point, you have to be competent. But hey, remember, you can't have the word incompetence without the word Pete. Gee, wonder how that worked. You know, she has some of the strictest gun control laws of any city in the nation. And yet, crime and gun violence is absolutely out of control. Now, I used to live and work in the city of Chicago. From 1986 to 1990, I was involved in inner city ministry in Chicago. And I can tell you that though I was of the Caucasian persuasion, and I think everybody pretty much knows that my political ideology leans heavily in the conservative side, I worked in inner city Chicago. I was in the Caprina Green housing projects before they were torn down. I worked with inner city youth, inner city kids in the city of Chicago for 4 years. And I had a great relationship with people, with families, with other community leaders. My full-time secular job at the time, I was a telemarketing manager. I actually met a very young Barack Obama when he had just been elected to the Illinois state legislature, and he came in with a group of people that were community organizers from Chicago working on getting Mayor Daley elected. And unfortunately, my group of telemarketers, because I had the number one group, we were assigned the Vote for Daley campaign. Didn't like it, wasn't my decision, but it's what I did because that was my job. So I've had real connection within the city of Chicago. It's one of my favorite big cities to visit. I love the layout. I warn you, stay stay off the Dan Ryan Expressway from about 2:30 in the afternoon until 6 p.m. because it becomes an absolute parking lot. My office was in the insurance exchange building. Right outside my office window, you could see the L tracks, and it was where they filmed one of the scenes from the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles when John Candy says goodbye to Steve Martin, and Steve gets on the train and thinking he's finally rid of Dell and he's going back into his life. So I'd come out of my office sometimes 11 o'clock at night, and a particular street near my office would be closed off, filming a scene for a movie, and I would stop and watch, and love walking down to the Palmer House Hotel, to Trader Vic's to eat. There was another little place called The Pub that used to be a speakeasy back in the Al Capone days, and they had great pizza, great French fries. Loved working in Chicago. Lightfoot has turned it into an absolute broken cesspool, as most Democratic mayors have done to most major Democratic cities. So, Mayor Lightfoot, bye, 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 bye. Nina Turner goes on CNN and absolutely floors the CNN panel with her assessment of the nags over at The View. In particular, Joy Not a Babe Hart.
The state administration is not doing enough. I'm not pleased with Governor Mike DeWine, who actually drunk some of the water, giving people confidence that that water is okay, when in fact, that EPA didn't do the deepest dive that they can do to deal with the carcinogens that are there, the air, the water. For the neoliberals who say that the residents of that area deserve what they are getting because they voted for President Donald J. Trump, it is abhorrent. This is about poverty. This is about poor, working class, white people who are enduring some of the same things that poor, working class black people endure, whether it's Flint, Cleveland, or Jackson, Mississippi. And so I want to lay it out. The cultist behavior in politics right now, it is a sin and a shame that when people are suffering to this magnitude, you got people who will fix their mouths, to quote my grandmother, to say that they are getting what they deserve. What they deserve is clean air, clean food, clean water. They deserve relief, both in the short term and also in the long term.
Boom! She nailed it. Absolutely. She nailed it. Joe Biden does not care not only about these poor Americans over in Palestine, Ohio, because after all, they're just stupid white trash that voted for Donald Trump. Joe Biden doesn't care about Americans, period. That's why we've got billions of dollars for Ukraine and not a dime for Palestine. Billions going to Palestine. Now, supposedly, the Congress is going to step in and say that he can no longer, by executive order, just start giving away billions of dollars. But since many Republicans in Congress are in this mad fantasy that we are somehow, standing up for democracy by standing with Ukraine, which is all bullhock and it's theater, and we're going to get burned badly on this. But he's paying Ukraine back for the grift that they gave his son for his no-show job. Because in reality, Biden doesn't care about America. He just doesn't. This whole thing is a grift for him and for his elite. And they patronize, and they are doing everything they can, especially through fiat and executive order, to weaken our nation. Totally destroyed the energy independence that had been built under Donald Trump. Gone. Destroying our economy, destroying the American way of life. He is given in to a woke ideology of a bunch of absolute freaks, and lunatics are now calling the shots and getting what they want. That's Joe Biden's America. And Nina is absolutely right. And how dare he say that everything's fine. Pete Buttigieg, he's been on it. No, they haven't been on it. It wasn't until Donald Trump went there that they started to pretend like they're getting on it. And, you whiner, and she's absolutely right about this. What a vermin he is. To go in that woman's home and stand there and drink a glass of water out of her tap and say, "See, it's completely fine." He had a glass of water one time, and as soon as he was off camera and back with his staff, that there was a doctor right there to give him something to make sure that nothing from the water there in East Palestine would hurt him. He had his Barack Obama moment. Remember when Barack Obama did the same thing in Flint, Michigan? Lie, lie, lie. It's just all a lie. And she said that on CNN. And she intimated and hinted at Donald Trump, former president, actually went there and helped the people. And really, we're now going to punish communities, and people like Joy Behar think it's okay to punish people and they deserve to die because they voted for the guy you didn't like? Boom! I don't know how The View stays on the air. I really don't. Other than I still say it is a sick joke that the suits at ABC, the guys that decided to put that on, they found literally the most clownish women with the biggest mouths and the most asinine political philosophies. They gathered them around a table just so that they could sit there and pretend to sound smart when in reality every one of them is an intellectual dillweed. And I don't care, even the so-called Republicans that are on there, they're dillweeds, and they constantly just argue back and forth and snip and snipe at each other. And I think the suits are sitting up in their offices, even at 11 in the morning, watching this, having a scotch, and just laughing that they have pulled off literally the ultimate stereotype. Know-nothing women talking about things they know nothing about. And Nina Turner, she nailed it. What kind of human being is Joy Not a Babeheart to say, you voted for Trump, you deserve to die? Really? Really? There are some voices now on the left, Jimmy Dore, Bill Maher, starting to say, hey, wait, we got to dial back this vitriol. I agree. And it is time for the left and right to come together on the things we can come together on, like ending big tech censorship. And Shazam Batman, all of a sudden, it's a lab leak. And something's got to be done. Even the FBI has come out and said it was a lab leak. Some of us said that 3 years ago, and we were censored, removed, deplatformed on some places. Now all of a sudden we can talk about it. Why? Well, enough time. No. With Russia and China joining forces, now all of a sudden we're going to start telling the truth about China. So this is about to get very interesting. But those of us who were the unvaxxed, we were this is an epidemic of the unvaxxed. We didn't take the love potion number 9. We didn't wear the hat everywhere we went. We tried to stay normal and tried to stay free. And we were called super spreaders. We were called killers. We were science deniers. We were concocting conspiracies when we challenged that how many people died of this thing? How many people actually have it? How deadly is it really? Turns out we're about 10-0. We've been right about all of it. So good for Nina Turner. Thank you for pointing out the obvious, that the Biden White House, the Biden administration, is not only incompetent, they're liars. They really don't care about this country. And media outlets like The View, they're not bringing anything helpful or constructive to the table. They are just making the problem of division worse. Hey, this is a special announcement that the afternoon drive is no longer heard on the radio. That's right. I'm done with the day-to-day radio. I am exclusively podcasting the afternoon drive right here on my YouTube channel. over on Rumble. If you would like to hear me rant about some of the things going on in quote-unquote modern Christianity, after all, I really am a pastor, you need to check out The Righteous Rant. The link is below. That's The Righteous Rant on Rumble.